An Taoiseach os láthair, it seems, Minister. A nice surprise to see you today. Temperatures are dropping rapidly as winter approaches. Household heating bills are rising just as fast. 1 million households across Ireland use oil for home heating. 38.9% of all households, Minister, and the price of their bills has rocketed up by 9% in just 1 month. On its own, that would squeeze any household, but that spike comes on top of a barrage of other price hikes. Energia, SSE, Electricity, Bord Gas and Flowgas have all put up their prices again. Highly profitable energy companies doing very well, some would say obscenely well, while bill payers face an impossible choice to freeze or to feel the squeeze, trying to make ends meet this winter. Because people simply have no more to give, Minister, and I know you'll be aware of this, because before this cold snap hit, 300,000 people were already in arrears on their electricity bills. And your government has offered nothing to help reduce household costs or to reduce reliance on fossil fuels. And I know you've just said, of course we need to reduce reliance on fossil fuels, but the government is way behind on retrofitting targets. And so carbon emissions continue to rise, and people living in drafty homes have no option but to rely on fuels that are unsustainable, both for our planet and for household finances. So it's 3.5 years since Russia's horrific onslaught on Ukraine. But now in 2025, energy providers are hiding behind what is a geopolitical tragedy to justify price hikes that can't be explained by supply costs. And you've just said about Ireland's energy bills compared to other European counterparts. Our energy bills are still markedly higher, and the driver of those prices is not war, it is corporate greed, Minister. We see that elsewhere too. Supermarkets hiking their prices at the tills, rents and mortgages climbing, and people's personal finances under attack from all angles, having less and less left over at the end of each month. Less for Christmas, less for car repairs, a burst pipe, or any unforeseen eventualities. And what's most galling is the sense that things are much worse than they could be, because your government could be doing more. You've given a message to hang in there, but offering no evidence that your policies are anything worth waiting for. And in your previous response, you talked about a report due in 2026. But in a cost of living crisis, people need protection now against corporate greed. Labour has called on the government to force supermarket giants to publish profits. Yet you've refused to do so. You've refused to use your legal powers to control energy prices. You've spoken about meeting with energy companies in September. But what has come of that? Where are the promised hardship funds? Where are the promised supports for households? All we saw was one-off measures stripped away in the last budget in the service of VAT cuts for fast food giants. So, Minister, people are at the pin of their collars, and you do need to take on these corporates. So will you finally tackle profiteering in energy prices, in groceries and also in
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Firstly, Count Corley, can I deal with this charge about the Leader of the Opposition has made and the Leader of the Labour Party that the Taoiseach is in some way absent? He's on government business. He was at the Sorry, excuse me for a second. He was at the G20 summit as well. Should he not go to that as head of the Irish government? Should he not go to the EU African summit? So if you were, I know you're just back from New York as well, right? But he was actually on government business. You're probably over fundraising over there, filling the Sinn Féin bags full of cash, right? No. So,
please resume.
And I'll answer your question.
Deputy, please resume your seat. Resume your seat. Minister, please continue with your answer.
Because energy afford.
Oh, Deputy, please.
Energy affordability.
Continue, please.
Energy affordability is critical, and I'm glad you've raised the point, okay? And I've answered already Deputy Mary Lou MacDonald. If you look at the measures that have been taken in the budget, they're targeted measures. Very targeted across all areas, not just on energy. If you look at social welfare rate increases, if you look at the renters' tax credit, the mortgage interest relief payments as well, all of those targeted at people. Significant, a very significant budget for people, unquestionably. And we've got to keep the economy going as well and support the jobs that are there also. Jobs underpin this, and it's the hard work of the state that ensures, and the hard work of people that ensures that we can have the resources to support our people through difficult times, as we did through COVID, as we did through the cost of living crisis, which was acute post the outbreak of the war in Ukraine. So what we've got to look at is now measures that we're taking, particularly on energy, that are permanent. And you've skipped over retrofitting. And on retrofitting alone, we're looking at about 64,500 households this year. 64,500 households will be retrofitted this year. And you're looking at next year, we're providing €558 million through the carbon tax receipts to actually put them directly into homes and into small businesses to reduce their energy costs. And the IEA have said it, not me, that those savings are between about €900 and €1,200 on average per annum. Permanent changes for households. That's what we need. And we do need to expand renewables as well, Deputy. You're correct in saying that, and I've said that too. Last year, over 40% of our electricity was generated through renewables. We've had a further successful auction in relation to solar and wind as well, and we're within grasp of actually becoming energy sovereign in the next 10 years. And that will be critical to reduce our dependence on fossil, and particularly imported fossil, where we are at the vagaries of the market. And you know how the energy markets work, Deputy. We're purchasing forward, and a lot of our companies are. Now, I insisted, and I asked the energy companies as well, to make sure those hardship funds were brought back in place, and they are in place. And no one can and no one will be disconnected through the course of this winter either. And I would say to people who are in arrears, there's assistance from the state there to contact their energy providers, and we can work through measures with them. But our work is not concluded on that, and I'll come back in and supplement.
You can, Deputy.
Well, I would certainly like to hear more on that, Minister. But just first on the Taoiseach's lack of presence here. Of course he must represent the country abroad, but we had understood he would be here today, and it is a courtesy, a common courtesy, that we would be notified in advance of leaders' questions when he isn't taking them. On your response, absolutely we support retrofitting. In fact, what we've been critical of in the Labour Party is the delay in the rollout of affordable retrofitting. And I think around the country, people are frustrated at delay on retrofitting, at missed targets on retrofitting, and at lack of affordability. Just as people are frustrated about delay in the rollout of renewables, we want to see renewable capacity ramped up at great scale. But I think all of us are frustrated at the delays. MARA was established some time ago. We supported that in opposition, but we're still seeing such delay in offshore development. And in the meantime, Minister, this is about fairness. It's about reshaping priorities so that those who have profited most from the crisis will pay their share, rather than seeing the burden of energy costs pushed back on working people and on families and households. And the Labour Party has put forward a series of supports, and we're simply asking the government to adopt those.
Yeah, look, we will obviously ensure that the measures we brought forward are implemented. Now, on retrofitting alone, we've actually retrofitted nearly 230,000 homes permanently across the country, and that's scaling up every single year. And as I said, we'll do about 64,500 this year. And they're permanent changes for households to ensure that they can bring down their energy costs. Now, there is the issue of the energy markets and the cost on the wholesale markets, and the fact that our retail price is struck at the wholesale gas price, even though we're accelerating renewables. And that's a matter that I've raised at every European Council meeting that I've been at. Actually, a COP just last week as well. We introduced into the discussion as well the affordability piece for households, because it is a real issue for households. But what I can say is we will continue to target the measures at those who need it most. And we'll continue to do that as we're expanding our renewables. Now, the work in relation to the Affordability Task Force, we published our interim report. We implemented measures like the 9% VAT rate straight away, like the expansion of the fuel allowance straight away. And there will be further measures coming through in 2026.
Thank you, Minister. Now, Deputy Holly Cairns.